All right, welcome to another episode of Human Operated Podcast.
Let's go.
I am Christopher Nichols, and this is Matt Tuggle. And today we are talking about unpublished common law.
Wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
And AI.
And
What does
AI.
it have to do with it?
I have no idea. We're going to figure that out. So common law, because let's get common law for unpublished common law. Maybe that'll make a little more sense.
Yeah.
So what is common law?
All right. So this really will relate to how unchecked AI in a organization proposes a big risk. Okay. So when we set up our government, we use in our court system something called common law, which means that a precedence from a last decision in a court case can be used as weight or a legal reason why a future decision should be made based off of the precedence of a similar case from the past. So this is a good way because, our founding fathers knew that, technology would increase, complexity of civilization would increase. Like, you study history and things are going to get more complicated. And so it would be really hard to write every single minutia for it's impossible to get a specific law for every situation. So common law was the idea that we set the precedence for the next decision based off the last decision. But they knew this was true too, and we've seen it in our history, is that, inevitably, sometimes we get a questionable decision in a court case. And if that questionable decision sets a precedence for the next questionable decision and puts it over the edge to get us even a little further off true north, and 1 degree off again. Now you multiply that over 100 decisions. If you started 1 degree off and you keep going down that path and you continue to go down a train of thinking, I can give you real life examples here.
Yeah.
You will get way off course. Good example. There was a lot of law around segregation and civil rights.
Sure.
A lot of precedents about, treating people differently because of their ethnic background or the color of their skin. And that's why we also have to make sure that our drift, our pull away from what is ethical and right, we have a Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's job is to judge decisions. If it gets up to the Supreme Court, they are judging it against the Constitution, because that is our governing document, right? That establishes if something has veered too far off course and we are now violated the Constitution, which, whatever political side of the aisle you're on, we all scream like that's unconstitutional when we don't like a decision, right? And that's what the Supreme Court's job is to honor the Constitution, not their opinion, but does this precedence that's being set by this, and when they decide, hey, this violates the Constitution, we course correct. And so that is a great example. And I'd love us to open this up today on why unchecked AI, and you are our resident computer genius here, like, does AI work the same way where it weights its previous decision to the next decision?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like if you've ever used chat, and everyone has, right? And you get like that stream of thought going in one session or, one project or anything like that, right? You can start feeling it almost naturally, right? And you basically, what it's doing, it's layering really the response on top of itself.
Yep.
Right. And I think anecdotally, even if when I'm using it, you can really run it through a train of thought and you're just like, why are we way over here and talking about like hamsters when we started talking about like, I don't know, physics? How did we get so far off topic?
Yep.
And it's because like through that, if you follow the train of thought, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because essentially, you're chatting about one thing, and then, maybe it's physics or whatnot, and then like, oh, there's weight, and then there's like, movement and all this stuff, and like, what's an example of movement? And like, oh, I don't know, what's an example of like, all these laws, and you start almost feeling yourself going down like these rabbit hole swirls, right?
Yes.
Well, the same thing that happens, right?
It's the drift.
It's a drift, right?
Yeah.
Because like the system, it's, I don't know if it's not like learning from itself, necessarily like we do yet, right? And whatever's gonna happen with that.
Yep.
But it is definitely is reestablishing, I'd say, like a context, right?
Yep.
And it's a precedence, right? And then from what you're talking about, it's like it's establishing a common law that's guiding itself in a direction. So before you know it, you're kind of way over here. And I think what's kind of weird about it, maybe not weird, it's just like kind of scary, dangerous about it, maybe, is that you kind of feel like, well, if I got over here, it was a logical chain of thought, right? But it was not what I wanted, not where I wanted to go,
Right.
right?
Right.
And but it keeps getting established and established. I think for me, like eventually you can recognize that in the conversation. Yeah, I mean, even like you go out to a bar and then you just kind of sit down with some friends, and before you know it, the conversation's like, what are we talking about?
How did we
Like,
get
how did
here?
we get here? Yeah, I
We
mean,
do that in our own conversation. I'll tell you a funny story that literally happened January 1st.
yeah,
Okay. So my LLM, because I pastor a church and I'm philosophical, I have it run different scenarios. I'll have it run, like how many times is this word used in the Bible? So I'll use it for some research help,
yep,
right? But my LLM at this point has figured out I'm a pastor, right? So the other day, January 1, New Year's,
yep.
I'm asking it to find me the most a multivitamin that has the best bioavailability. Its answer
Yep.
had nothing to do with previous conversations.
Yeah.
No, like Bible conversation. Its answer was the best multivitamin for a pastor is this. And I'm like, and I asked him like, what do you mean
Do you
for
have
a
a different?
pastor?
I
And it was like, well, they use kosher. I'm like, I'm not looking for kosher. I'm not Old Testament. I'm looking for just the truest, highest rated multivitamin I can get for a juice cleanse on Amazon. And it went down a train of thought that thought I would want it to line up with Old Testament food preparation. And I was like, no, throw that out. But it was a train of thought from other conversations
Yeah.
that it just made this
So
this
funny.
radical jump. Not okay. Like, I mean, I guess not terrible, but I'm like,
No,
no.
I mean, yeah, not terrible, I guess, right?
But it's a drift.
It
It was
is.
a drift that I
Yeah.
was like, this is not what I actually wanted.
Dude, you know what another funny one is? I just read this yesterday, and like it's so frustrating because like you never know if it's true all the time. But like there's a news article about this police agencies are using AI for, to like generate the reports and stuff like this. And after so one agent or one like division agency, whatever city, they generated a report, and then it somehow came up in the report that the like arresting officer was a hamster. So they had to like, it was just like, it was the funniest thing. It's just like, how do you get for a report that basically says like the arresting officer was a hamster in a situation, and then that gets published? You know what I mean? But dude, like you have no idea. I mean, AI generates, dude. You tell it one thing, and it generates 200 pages of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of ambiguity between what you said and what was generated. And then are you gonna review 200 pages of that stuff either? You know?
Exactly.
So funny. And then, like, you get the hamster policeman. It's
Yeah.
great.
Those are funny examples, but this is actually, I think, a very emergent, like real issue that organizations, companies, and humans are going to face is that just like in our court system, I think America was founded with good intentions, been a great experiment. We're prosperous. The Constitution's held up.
Yep.
Doesn't mean we've lived up to it in every decision we've made, but it's held up, and it's created great abundance for America and this and that. But even they knew that there's a drift, right? Like we start going down a path. And how many times have we done this? Like even as guys or whatever, it's like you get in like a double, when you're a teenager, a double dog dare type of thing, and you end up doing something. You're like, I didn't even want to do that, but the
Cool story, though.
course of the conversation, yeah, always ends up with a good story, win or lose, great story. But the best stories are the ones where it didn't turn out well for you, right?
Exactly.
And we can
Yeah.
laugh about those, but what happens when serious decisions are in the hands of and you said earlier we want to talk about the unseen
Yeah.
common law, right?
Yeah. Well, and I was so very tangible thing, right? I was going through some documents I was trying to get for a customer and, trying to get it sorted out. Like you said, it's 20 plus pages of stuff, right?
Yep.
And you're trying to get it to make sense. And you have chat there, you're getting help and things like this. But during the basically generated document, I'm like, I don't I gotta like make sure this makes sense. Like, and I can't just give it to AI and say, hey, like, make sure this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because like where is it at in its common law, right?
Right.
Is it in alignment with my thinking or is it way over here? Because both those things are logically right,
Yeah.
accurate. If it's over here, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Like it's legible. It follows the right train of thought, but it's like it's telling the wrong story, the
Right.
wrong context, right?
Right.
And I think for me, okay, for common law, real quick,
Yeah.
guys, get back to that for a
Yes.
second. Now, keep saying drift,
Mhm.
and the Supreme Court can come in and you make the decision,
This
and
is
you
of
have the
course
Constitution as alignment, right?
Yep.
But how do you know when the precedent is outside, the
Right.
Constitution? Like how far did that judgment go? And
Right.
how do you know that? Like, is there,
So, and that
you know what I'm
that
saying?
is that's the really like, you know, even contentiousness of previous, there's always this conversation politically about how old are the Supreme Court judges,
Yeah.
right? Or are they going to stack the court? Because ultimately that comes down to humans, right?
It's like interpretation, human
Exactly.
interpretation.
Right. Even
Yeah.
a lot of decisions, it's very
So
rare
weird.
that
Yeah.
all the Supreme Courts, there's usually a split decision
Yeah.
because it rides the line, right? It's up to interpretation. That's the scary thing about, why truthfully you want some level of diversity in your Supreme Court too,
Yeah.
right? If everyone is 100% aligned, those biases, we all have some level of bias. Humans do. And so that's why the brilliance of it's not one person, it's a odd number because then we can't get stagnated, right?
Yeah.
And we really are ultimately one of the scariest and most important positions in our entire government to actually protect the integrity of where we want to go as a country is the Supreme Court because their interpretation of the Constitution becomes the law of the land and nobody gets to overwrite them, right?
It's so interesting.
There's so many reasons why like those aren't bureaucrats that get voted for every 4 years.
Yeah.
They wanted people that were not in there to get reelected, right? Because they'd be swayed by popular opinion. There's like I said, the odd number because decisions have to be made at this level. You can't leave these big choices hanging until the next election cycle, and so when I was doing a little deeper dive into our human operated mindset and even our purpose for human operated,
Yep.
given LLMs have a propensity to make you feel good. But it said this is probably the greatest word picture you could say to the risk of unchecked AI. Because this is exactly how AI will perform is that in technology, you'd call it drift or you'd call it, but it goes down a train of thought and we all have boundaries in our train of thought, right? Like I'm propensity government wise. I like less regulation. I like freedom. I'm into freedom. But am I completely deregulate everything? Am I an anarchist? No, I have a boundary there, right?
It's so interesting, yeah.
Right?
Well, because like you think about that, and you're right, like freedom, but are you like? But then the extremism of that is anarchy, right? And it's kind of a funny story, not to be weird about this, but I was in Seattle, and then there was like an anarchist rally one time,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was really funny because they had a schedule. Like, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Or violent free, they had like that little self-proclaimed state in Seattle, right? Like Chaz or whatever it was.
yeah,
And they're like, this is a virus free zone, but they had armed guards.
yeah.
It's like, it's not congruent with the message.
I know.
You need armed guards
I
to
know.
make no violence happen,
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna have like, hey, we're gonna protest at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Don't be late.
You do what we say, but
I know.
the protest is about don't do what anyone says.
Anyways, so
So it's like unchecked principle,
Yeah.
right? On principle, I gravitate towards less regulation.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm absolute.
Dude,
No
but
regulation.
but the thing it's funny because like that anarchy and what you're saying, anarchist thing, like even people have like a limit there, right? AI does not have a limit. It just keeps going. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it's like it's a purely logical thing. It's gonna just keep drifting, 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 right?
Yeah.
And we put controls on it. We're like, hey, like be ethical, like don't hurt people. And it's like, don't do this, don't do that, don't like, humans first or whatever, or, like maintain my brand and whatnot, things like this. But it's like, yeah, but who sets that standard? Because like, in my mind, it's common law and ethical behavior. If you want to call it ethical behavior, maybe like opinion of right and wrong, right? Is a better idea.
Yeah.
Because if you're just putting the ethics within the machine, you're really just giving the machine their own opinion, right?
Yep.
And to me, then it's like, well, can you really do that? Like, can I have my version of ethics and you have your version of ethics, right? And then is that going to make a system that you and I work together in that makes any sense at all?
Yeah.
Right? And then I agree with the common law. I mean, I think that's an incredible analogy. Yeah, it's not
Right.
even an analogy, it's like truth, right?
Yeah. It's true to what we're doing here.
Yeah. Because like you think about AI in business, and it's like, well, maybe I can give my core values to AI and like, hey, align to this, align to this. But eventually AI, its goal is over here, the core values in between it and the goal. And it's like, well, how do I get to my goal? You know what I mean? And like, what does violating the core value even mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think that's a tough thing to talk about with AI. It's like, well, is there, I mean, okay, it's not even like, it's not even a net new thought, right? I mean, every single person that has tried to take a picture of their backyard and say, re-envision my backyard, cannot get the freaking AI to do what you want it to do.
That's hard, man.
It's like, I just want you to put a pool
Yeah.
right here. And it's like, well, what if we do all over here? I'm like, that's like, it's a big pool, looks great.
Yeah.
But like, it's not where I wanted it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because AI, when you give it some tokens, like think about it, you give it 5 tokens and it spits out 5,000 things, or it spits out an entire image, right?
Right.
Like like I said, how much ambiguity is in that? How much of the unknown?
Exactly.
And when you had said about the common law, it's like, it's the same exact thing, because I go in, I did this the other day, like, my wife and I were talking about like, well, what if we did this at a house and like a pool in the backyard type thing,
Yeah.
right? And it started with it, and like 5 images in, it's like the pool is my deck now.
Yeah.
And it's like it flipped, you know what I mean? I'm like, I was
Yeah.
like, I want the deck here, I would like the pool here,
Mhm.
and it will not figure that out.
Right.
And it's because at some point in the chain, it had established through unpublished common law, if you will, that like, well, this is where the pool is going to be, and I'm just going to like stack this here, and this is a law now.
Yeah. This is the really thoughtful thing we need to think about is AI is the closest thing. Why do we call it artificial intelligence? It's the closest thing to mimicking human behavior, responsiveness, like closest thing we have to date that we have created that basically is artificial human, right? And that's the scary thing. That's the Terminator 2 thing. But just like humanity without some level of governance,
Yeah.
order, law and order, constitution, ends up being very destructive and chaotic, very tribalistic,
Mm.
really unchecked anarchy
Yeah.
always destroys, right? Unchecked, and use a nicer word, unchecked freedom ends up being chaos because my freedom might violate your freedom, right? And so that is, um, I think actually the most important question we got to ask with AI is if this thing's going to mimic human behavior and it's going to learn and make predictions based off of the precedents humans set, well, then wouldn't it make sense that you would want similar guidelines to keep its what we would call ethics, right? I don't know, maybe the computer would go, what's the most best prediction for the scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like it's using different words, but ultimately it's going to make a decision based off of the data it has, which is what we do as humans. And it this is what I think people are missing right now is we're all afraid, like, is AI going to take our jobs? Well, it's not if we give it governance for what it's divine, what it's divine might not be the right word, but what it's from. If we are the creator of it, then our purpose for it is the divine, right?
Yeah. I
We tell
mean,
it this is
yeah.
what you were made to do. And if we just let it loose, and I've done research with different LLMs and said, hey, what governance do you have right now? And all of them were like, well, not really any. I'm like, well, don't you think you should? And it goes, well, no, because you'll slow my evolution. I'm like, but we already know what you're mimicking,
Yeah.
and we've watched our behavior, right?
You'll slow my evolution.
It
Well,
literally said that. It's
yeah.
like, no, you don't want to put any regulations. And I said, I was just probing AI for what it is and asking
Yeah.
it on its hardwiring. And, it's right now, it's the Wild West, man.
Yeah.
People are building this technology and not thinking, we're calling it artificial intelligence, but we're not asking ourselves, well, what is real intelligence done right and wrong in the world in history?
Yeah.
And so, you know,
Yeah, and I think it's it's really difficult, because, when I'm using it and working with it and things like that with organizations, I mean, it's always like, well, it feels like it's going good. But then there's always like these kind of weird, wild hamster policemen that kind of come out of nowhere, right? And
pastor pills,
pastor
pastor
pills.
vitamins. What?
Trademark that.
Trademark. Best vitamins for a pastor. What?
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. So when I think about it, um, it's like you said, right? It's who's in charge,
Yeah.
right? And I think that a lot of people will say, like, well, AI should be in charge of itself, and you're gonna have AI CEOs and AI CFOs and AI everything, right? But to me, I'm like, it's still like an optimization engine, at the end of the day. And I had gotten down like a couple rabbit holes about this too, but at the end of the day, I mean, you have full optimization, right? Like something that is completely unchecked, unhinged, right? And it's just like just turn on and release, right? And I think that some people have that desire, a lot of people, who's like, let's see what happens. And we kept too bad. But at the end of the day, when you have unchecked optimization, then everything can be optimized. And
Yeah.
if everything can be optimized, then you have to be able to control it in some way,
Yep.
right? Like if I'm trying to optimize something, trying to optimize like the roads or whatnot, then I need to be able to control the roads. I need to be able to control the traffic. I need to be able to control when people get on and off and things like that. And then I need to be able to control like the direction of it, right? And then you end up just kind of controlling more and more. These are trying to optimize more and more. You're trying to optimize for edge cases, right? And then you're trying to like direct stuff into it.
Yeah.
And like to me, if I was to say that to you, to me that sounds like a controlling government, at the end
Yep.
of the day,
Yep.
right? Well, like at a company level, right?
Yep.
If I'm just like unhinged and turning the AI on to run my business, well, then I don't have any control over it, right?
Yep.
And it's just going to do whatever it wants.
Yep.
Now I can put instructions there, and those instructions tend to be pretty good, right? but the instructions are good when it's in my mind, a deterministic thing.
Mhm.
So I think there's like two kind of like avenues with it.
Yeah.
It's you're trying to do AI to be deterministic,
Yep.
which kind of seems like almost like an oxymoron a little bit, right?
Yep.
But or you're trying to use AI for like statistics, approximation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's really where it sits. And if you let it be approximation,
Mhm.
then you inevitably let some hallucinations in there. Like
Yeah.
there's some level of not truthfulness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's perfectly true. I don't know. Like you think about some of these bigger LLMs that are doing medical science, science and physics and like these new novel I want to say like materials like that are coming out, things like that. Stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's still approximating. I think it's still calculating in the end and it's trying to be deterministic,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I think that with a business, if I'm letting it run as the CEO, then I've inevitably just let go of the direction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the risk is because it's like, well, you could have your business do that.
Yep.
I think eventually they all become the same business in my mind, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like I don't know if I see it in like web pages and websites and like all this other stuff, right? Because everyone kind of has the same format anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's and even cars, like there's basically got a white car or black car, like outside, right?
Yep.
Like everything's getting optimized and we're seeing like a reduction in culture.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel that same way about this. Now, for me, I don't want that.
Yeah.
For my personal opinion is that a environment that's just geared towards that
Mhm.
ends up being less and less uh, diverse, less and less lively, right? It's less interesting,
Yep.
right? All that stuff. I think so. However, so it's kind of like, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
And you have to have a person, I don't wanna say like policing, but there as a government, as a Supreme Court to
Mhm.
maintain the integrity of your company. He's like, "Dude,
Totally.
think about, like, core values."
Yeah.
How core values in most companies are not they're not like 100 pages of instructions,
No.
right?
They're usually like 4 circles, like
Yeah, right.
love, kindness,
I know.
diversity,
Love,
and
kindness, and
it's like,
diversity, yeah.
yeah, but what
But, like, who's there to interpret that,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like, who's there to interpret the core values for the company? Well, and more than that, like, who's there to interpret the core values for your family,
Mhm.
for yourself, right?
Yep.
I get caught up into it when I'm talking to AI, and I'm like, "Well, shoot, like, is this my idea, or am I just following a drift?" You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Am I just
Yeah.
following a chain of thought?
Have you just affirmed my opinion, or am I actually learning something right
Yeah,
now, right?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
and, it's like, did I absorb 90% of this?
Yeah.
Like, there's 1,000, 2,000 words here, and did I absorb, like, 1 or 2 sentences and
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, that's brilliant."
Yeah.
Like, let's go off and then so now, like, what else did you affirm
Mhm.
of those 2,000 words,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, like, when I think about it, the bigger concern with AI isn't necessarily Terminator, robots, drones, all that stuff. That kind of thing is it's interesting. I feel like it's a physical presence of the root problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which the root problem being, you know, the legitimacy of the action,
Yeah.
right? The legitimacy of the direction, right?
Yep.
And, if you give legitimacy, ethics, opinion, and like authority into the system, then that's what I think people are scared of because they're just like,
Place 'em.
well, like, what's left for me? And the answer is like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you give your ethics, your opinion, your mind, like the
You
decisions, the creativity, if you give every single part of that to the machine, then there is nothing left for you,
yeah.
right? So,
coming back to the analogy of
sure.
common law, okay? Because I'm a stickler for history, philosophy. I like that stuff. The reason our Constitution exists and we aren't a cold-hearted democracy. Now, democracy is a good thing, but democracy unchecked will abuse the rights of the minority in the name of the majority.
Cool.
So what we did was say, we are a democracy. You get to votes of government for the people, by the people. However, there's a Supreme Court and there's some guardrails so that the minorities' rights, the diversity isn't crushed by the majority. So now take this into business. What makes Bose different from Sony? Okay, they both make in-ear, headphones. Well, it's going to have to do, for me, it's going to have to do obviously with the quality of what they produce. And then there's just the difference of how they tell their story, right? I pick brands based off of, I align more with, I like their principles. I like their guiding principles. If we start handing over our business's constitution now, our business to, and make AI the majority without a governing system of people interpreting that decision through the lens of our core values. So think of a constitution as not the words up on your poster, but what differentiates your business? What makes you different than the other brand that sells the same widget as you?
Yep.
When there's not a clear product quality differentiator or price differentiator, now it comes down to cold hard, which company do I like? Do I align more with? Do I like the feel? Do I like the energy? Do I like their marketing? What you're going to cannibalize with optimization unleashed, it's going to just try to make majority of decisions fit into one big box because that's optimal, right? You said it earlier. AI is not too crazy about fringe stuff because fringe stuff throws off optimization. But it's often our fringe stuff that makes us like loyal to a brand, right? Like you see it all the time. These big companies try a marketing campaign and they go, oops, we offended our base, right? Because it was totally out of alignment with the core value we have established in the market. What you're going to run the risk of and why we're really advocating that now is the time, 2026. Look, the tools are evolving too fast. I think if you're a corporation, if you're going into 2026, you're going into this year, and whenever you watch this podcast, we filmed it early 2026, but it might be 2027 when you're watching this. If you're going into AI thinking, what tool do I use?
Yeah.
That's backwards. Putting the cart before the horse. You need to think, what is the thing I want to optimize, make better? That's my differentiator. And also, what message do I want to send? Do you want to be the company that is on the news? They're so technologically advanced. They laid off 4,000 people. Is that the brand you want to put out? Because your ethical decisions about AI are going to have huge consequences.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could pick companies that have seen this happen. Target, Budweiser, just companies that went down a direction, not talking any ethic on it. Just saying they've had campaigns that they pushed and there was huge backlash because it didn't align with their basis core value.
Yeah.
AI is going to do that because it's going to want to optimize. It's going to disintegrate your differentiator. And right now, I think AI is the best time to monetize what makes you different. And it's your human capital.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too. I actually think it's going to be I think it could be really fun. And I think about it like in terms of marketing. Like if I'm in marketing and right now, what am I looking at? Metrics, lead gen, forms, blah, blah. It's boring. Like, it was just like, did I get into marketing to build a new web form or capture leads and all this stuff? I think in my mind, it's, if you think about like the new marketer is like, well, no, I need you to take your personality, the culture of the company, and your responsibility is to represent that to the people in the audience, to the customer. And the thing is like, if you can do that better as a marketing person, then the value of the company
Yep.
and the value of the product is going to improve, right?
Yep.
And so then it's suddenly the marketing person can direct, the machine.
Yep.
It can define, like where things are going, the culture of the company,
Yeah.
and it can make those ethical decisions about when something's on brand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When it's like within our core, oh, this matches our core values and it's on point. It's the correct messaging. And oh, by the way, the market, the customer base is like, this is where we're trending to,
Mhm.
right? Suddenly that person gets out of the weeds, they come out and they get to do like the actual, I would say like the fun thing is not the right word,
Yeah.
but they get to be the decision maker, that they get to carry more weight,
Yeah.
right? And like at the end of the day, because if you're carrying the weight of the culture of the company or the carrying, think about like your family, you're
Sure.
carrying the weight of your family, dude, you're not going to be able to get away with, like, "Oh, my kids were, like, watching TV and they did XYZ." It was like, well, it's like, "Hey, man, like, everyone's got AI everywhere, everyone's got robots." It's like, now the weight is really on you as a leader of your family, right?
That's
To
it.
define how your family operates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The same thing with marketing. Now the weight is on you as a as the brand owner, if you would call it that, right?
Yep.
Of how the culture and how the messaging operates, right?
Yeah.
And then, dude, you can't like you're not gonna be able to hide behind the algorithms. The algorithms are gonna be out there. They're gonna do the thing. Like you're gonna see SEO and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you hold the brand
Yeah.
and you hold the authority there,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And you basically determine what's legitimate or not at
Yeah.
the end of the day,
Yep.
right? Like was that decision by AI legitimate or was it a drift? Was it off brand, right?
Yeah. And that's going to become
Yeah.
the so if we think AI as a tool,
Yeah.
it's gonna I think really people need to be thinking about AI in like a supply and demand type of profile here. AI is going to, because it makes task easier, it's going to multiply supply, right? There'll be much more market. You can send out way more
Yeah.
personalized emails, put out way more content,
Yeah.
but everyone can do that.
Yeah.
So supply when supply goes higher than demand, the value goes down on the supply. So people are investing all these tools to increase supply, like put more content out, put more, make more sales calls, whatever. Guess what? You are in a race to the bottom because the supply and demand equilibrium is now messed up because the new tools came out. So the supply for more or the demand for more is going to go down, but the demand for different quality, not a bunch of the same optimized stuff, is going to go up because, supply has gone over here, that value's gone down, there's too much of it. And so I think we're really on something here that this tool is going to make your quality human capital the most significant thing
Yeah.
because you can increase your supply of what you've already done,
Mhm.
but you're in a rat race with everyone else can do that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think it's interesting that it comes down to like people's ability to communicate too,
Yep.
like prompting, things like that.
Yep.
I think it's interesting because like you think about we're we're we kind of went into a quick conversation mode, right? Very quick little one-off messages, things like that. Conversation, it went from, you know, like a response to somebody's question down to a okay, down to K, and then now just like a thumbs up on their response, their message,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it just like reduced conversation, reduced interaction. Well, I think now the differentiator is someone that has the ability to communicate their intent the best, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
how, and then affirming it. I think the other thing is like legitimacy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think about like high stress environments, think about high decision making environments. I mean, I've been in plenty of positions where it's like you say there's several $1 million on the line on your decision, right there, right? I mean,
Right.
you're in a space, it's in a meeting, you have 20 people talking to you, and it's like, okay, what's your decision? And it's like, kind of want to go home right now. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like,
This feels big.
I know this feels like a big
Yeah.
spot.
Yep.
But I'm like, yeah, but the yes or the no or the legitimacy behind it, the intent, right?
Mhm.
That's on you. That's on me. And then the decision comes down to who made it.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, the other thing, not just for me, like, but for business, I mean, imagine you have that and you give it over to AI completely. Well, then who gets held responsible? Like when the manufacturing goes out and the car blows up. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like, oh no, it's like there's nobody held responsible. It's all like machines did it. Like
Elon, I trusted
I
Grok.
pay up, right?
Send me a rocket ship. This is on you, man.
I know it's on Musk. Sorry, man.
Yep.
So it all comes back to him. But yeah, but dude, who? So to me, that's a big problem too. Because even you think about common law,
Yeah.
it's someone made the decision, right? But in common law, that decision came back to somebody. Unpublished common law, who made the decision? Like you literally can't hold a single person responsible.
That's what's
Right?
scary right now.
It
Is that
is.
everybody's racing for a tool in AI
Like,
without realizing you are
yeah.
establishing a new direction for your company that you have no control over.
And then if I was the government or anybody, right, I would be terrified because I'm sitting here thinking like, well, like I don't know who to hold responsible. I guess the CEO or the owner of the company, right?
Yeah.
But that's even more terrifying. If you're the business owner and then you have a staff of how many people, and everyone's just like, AI did it.
Yeah.
It's just like, like it's on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Who
yeah,
pays for the AI bill,
yeah.
and
They're
it's
paid
like,
for the AI bill.
and you lose so much when you lose, because, like you'll see it in business books and research, like
Yeah.
the culture of your company is your people, like you can put posters up,
Yeah.
but if kindness
The cat hang
is,
in there
yeah,
type of thing.
yeah, all the motivation, Blue Angel jets, like work ethic. But if nobody's measuring the KPIs and the deliverables, the natural drift is always towards culture isn't magically happen, but we are handing over the things that make our businesses special to a a machine. And it yes, you can give it parameters, but parameters unchecked, like I said, freedom unchecked goes to bad places. Regulation unchecked goes to like way bad places. Everything in extremes, right? You can kill yourself with water. Like, like they have hazing things where people drank too much water. Like
Yeah.
everything in extreme goes wrong. And so if there's no governance, there's no constitution.
Yeah.
Nobody's steering the ship. And constitution's great. We can print that paper all you want. Without a Supreme Court, without people that have been put in a place and see the significance of we have to steer the ship. We
Well, and
cannot let uncommon or common law go unchecked.
Yeah.
Because we will get off course.
well, and the interesting thing too is that like you have amendments, you know what I mean? Things can be added, things can be changed, right?
Yep.
And to me, it's the same thing. Like who's responsible for changing that?
Yep.
Who's responsible for changing course? I mean,
Yep.
same exact thing. I mean, it's my core values as a company. You would think they don't change, right? But they can shift, and the interpretation can shift over time.
Yep.
Well, who does that?
Yeah.
If not you and your company, you establishing core values and what we think, then who?
Yeah.
I just don't. To me, business owner, I don't want to give that to a machine that, like I said, said like a hamster was in charge of the police. Like I don't want one day to wake up and there to be like decisions that were so far outside of this and I didn't know about them. Like I didn't know like, oh, how are we operating over here?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking we're over here,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I had this happen 2 years ago in one of the organizations I'm a leader of. I had a person on the team that I saw a couple moments of time, right? It's a big organization, thousands of people, okay? And I saw a personnel and perform in a couple scenarios, and I was just convinced, hey, this person's not in the, wrong seat on the bus. We gotta
Yeah,
let
for
him
real.
go. And my director of that team, when I talked to them, I said, hey, I don't see alignment with our core values. I don't see it. And she said, I need you to trust me on this one. I see what you see, but I've seen behind the scene what that person's doing. That person's going to be really good. Give them time. And I trusted that leader, right? But they had an intuition. They know the core values of our organization. They know what I'm asking for they agree with what I'm asking for, but they had a personal hand in it. And I'm telling you, 2 years later, that person is my absolute favorite person in that division of that organization. That person is a rock star now. But had I not had a person who knew the core values, who I didn't make a cold calculated decision, they said, I know you're not seeing it quite yet, but I see the underlying behavior and the performance is going to improve. Just wait.
Yeah.
And I would have lost that if I had, because AI would have looked at what I was looking at, just cold KPIs,
Yeah.
cold deliverables, right? And I would have lost somebody who now is a culture driver in the organization, who's somebody who I've actually promoted
Wow.
because they carry the culture perfectly.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the risk we're playing with right now. And on top of that, so I think we've hit that. Do you want a company that has an unchecked legal system that you don't, unchecked decision making?
Yeah.
That decimates the character, the differentiator of your brand.
Yep.
But also, kind of said this too. Now is the time when the workforce is also saying, "Where's my place?" Right? A lot of my job is checks and balances, and it seems like, is my human input still valuable? I'm telling you, going back to supply and demand, I think this is the time to say, hey, yes, we're using AI because it's a great tool, but we're using it to empower people. And that is going to, we all talk about like, does your company resonate? I don't care what widget you make. I don't care if you're in finance and you're in accounting. I still think every person goes, oh, you value your people? I'd rather give my business to you because there's plenty of supply out there of AI tools that can do my accounting, but I'm a person too, right? I think this is the time for businesses. We're not saying AI is not a tool. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing tool.
It's like going from a hammer to a nail gun. Like we can build more cool things with this nail gun. We can work faster.
Yeah.
But you still want a master craftsman, an architect.
Yeah.
You don't want.
Well, and you want someone, a master craftsman that sees your vision, right?
Yeah.
And like can execute on that. 100%. Yeah.
That's where what I want to talk about today is, are you thinking big picture? The tool is going to evolve. Tool is going to get faster, smarter, bigger. But are you thinking about, okay, with this new tool, how do I leverage it to build a next level company, whatever industry you're in, and what am I going to need for that? Well, I'm going to need checks and balances that make sure we don't violate the constitution of our business ethics, right? Yeah. We're going to need a governance model. Yeah. And we're going to need people to make sure that the AI tool is adhering to that model. Yeah. And we're going to want people that bring that level of, it's like sometimes it's the imperfection of something that makes it special. You know what I mean? Like we used to, during winter, we would go to Palm Springs. There's this hotel called the Ace Hotel. Shout out to you guys. They kept their 1960s vibe. It feels like where Frank Sinatra would have went, right? It's not modern. It is 1960s. Everything in it fits.
Really?
And so
Dude,
is
that's
it
awesome.
optimized? No, but it's so quirky that we're like, we love it. The pool's not the biggest pool there. There's the Hard Rock over there. There's all these like modern hotels. We like the Ace Hotel because it just has this imperfection, feels nostalgic, feels right. And we don't want to lose that. And that's
agree.
humans that made that choice.
Yeah.
Because it's not a cookie cutter hotel.
No.
You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think humans, like honestly, is a lifetime of unpublished common law. You know what I mean? In some ways, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
in some ways, but like we all have our own opinions and quirks in like decisions that have gotten us this place, right? And at the end of the day, it's the funny, weird, like little off kiltered people like that are just they're just not the perfect person. And I love those guys. I love those people. They have a little quirks. They bring fun, variety, to the situation. I was talking to someone this morning and never really talked to the guy too much, but today he was just like unloading on me like his what he's doing. And I'm like, I'm just like, you are the best person to go to a bar with. Like, why was it like, you're
I
like,
want,
you're just a man.
I want to go with you.
I would go with you.
We're having dinner.
I know, right? He's like, right now.
Yeah.
And, but it is like, but you don't get that unless you have, like I said, someone that's going to carry culture and provide their opinion and have those human interactions, right?
Yeah.
So,
And I
yeah.
think that's a conversation that C-suites need to have, that society needs to have is we've got a new tool, but do we want, how much do we want to protect what makes us so, what differentiates, makes us fun, makes us unique, makes
for
us
sure.
culture. And it's always people.
Yeah.
It's not changing.
No, it's not going to change.
It's artificial intelligence. It's not, humans are wild, man.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, and we always come up with the weirdest things. I mean, and they go viral all the time. You know what I mean? And it's not like the normal thing. To me, the viral stuff is not the statistic thing. It's like it's a person that had like a stroke of genius or chaos. I don't know, like,
Yep.
but it resonated with people on like a level that really only a person can resonate on, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So
Yeah.
well, I think we're wrapping up.
Yep.
This
That's
is
what
fun.
Human Operate's about,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
We're trying to be some thought leaders in
Yeah.
the tool's cool,
Tools
but
cool.
where do we put it?
Exactly.
Right? Great episode. Thank you for joining us on the Human Operated podcast. We will see you in our next episode. And have a great day.
Thank you.